Hello, my friends. Welcome to Thumb Together. My name is Andrew Fantasia, and it is time for another review marathon. I love these. They're so much fun. If you don't love them, you don't have to keep watching. But if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to the subscribe button as well, which is in a different place now, I think, because YouTube changed their whole layout and it looks like ass. But whatever. What are you going to do? So here's how these things work. Every 3 months, I try to see as many movies as possible that I've never seen before, but the rule is I have to make sure each of those movies is at least 1 year old. This time around, we've got a nice hefty chunk. We've got 31 movies. That's right, between the months of April and June 2022, I got to see 31 movies I had never seen before, and now I try to review them as fast as I possibly can. So, here we go. Take it away, me. 2001, A Space Odyssey. Absolutely wondrous. I can see now why literally everything ever made has parodied this at one point or another. If there's a film about the making of this, I'd love to take a peek behind this wonderfully trippy curtain. I'm not going to pretend that I understood all of it, but I can honestly say that I did enjoy most of it. Across 110th Street. 1970s gang violence is the best kind of gang violence. Not that I condone that sort of thing, but I do condone checking out this ultra-gritty, super seedy crime thriller, especially if you're a fan of New York history. Bahubali, The Beginning. Hollywood movies are supposed to be epic in every sense of the word, and this film delivered on that promise like a generous postman slipping you little Debbie snack cakes to go with your mail. The first of a two-part mythic tale that makes 300 look like child's play, Bahubali is Bahu Big and Bahu Beautiful. Basketball. Zany Zucker Brothers comedy meets sizzling South Park vulgarity in this very 90s film. I love any time ridiculous and or non-existent sports are played with the same dramatic intensity as American baseball, and basketball checked that box for me multiple times. It also reminded me that Yasmin Bleeth used to be a thing. Candyman. I'm not sure what I was expecting from this horror classic, but it definitely wasn't the trippy, wrongfully accused romp that this ended up being. I like the idea of Candyman being this eerie urban legend, but when that legend seems to keep changing every 5 minutes, it's hard to stay invested. Dead of Night. Horror anthologies are always fun, and this is one of the oldest ones I've ever seen, a sort of Canterbury Tales meets The Twilight Zone kind of thing. Hey, Matt Reeves, if you're planning on adapting the Batman villain ventriloquist anytime soon, which you should do, watch this and take notes, buddy. The Dead Zone. If one of your friends is randomly psychic, there's a good chance you're all living inside a Stephen King story. The Dead Zone is actually one of King's better adaptations. Quiet but powerful, with a surprisingly restrained Christopher Walken having a whole lot of silly premonitions. The Eagle Has Landed. I've seen a lot of World War II movies, but I've never seen one where the Nazis were the main characters. The Eagle Has Landed was very serious when it needed to be, but also kind of fun and charming at times, making for a cocktail I never would have expected from a story about the war. Even though you know the Germans aren't going to succeed at their plan to assassinate Churchill, it still keeps you hooked. I dig this. F9. Like every other movie in this franchise, from Part 5 onwards, F9 is big, stupid as hell, and endlessly entertaining. There was a big Avengers level of crossover here, with tons of characters from across the saga reprising their roles, and the kind of triptych storytelling that I love in movies like this. Pure, dumb fun. The Faculty. I remember seeing the trailer for this and thinking it looked cool, and 24 years later, I can finally confirm that it is, in fact, cool. I had a blast watching people like Clea Duvall and Elijah Wood running around killing aliens while Pearl Jam plays in the background because 90s. Also, thanks to The Faculty, I've officially decided that if I ever get access to a time machine, I'm going to travel back to 1999 and propose to Jordana Brewster. Seriously. Wow. Falling Down. On the outside, this can easily be mistaken for one of the many cheap schlocky thrillers cranked out during the decade of Pogs, but Falling Down has a lot going on under the hood, with sharp societal commentary that stands the test of time, and Robert Duvall showing off some legendary paunch. Godzilla vs. Kong. Definitely the best of these modern American Godzilla films. It was imaginative, it was fun, and best of all, it was absolutely gorgeous to look at. The visuals are stunning. And unlike its predecessors, Dustzilla and the sequel Dustzilla Dust of the Dusters, you could actually see what was going on instead of just, dust. The Hustler. Fast Eddie Felson plays Poole really well, and that's pretty much all he's got going for him, so what could have been just a cheap vehicle to make Paul Newman look sexier than he already is, instead becomes a poignant tragedy, with some really good games of Poole. Jeepers Creepers. The title of this movie always reminded me of a Scooby-Doo episode, but now that I've seen it, I can say with confidence that the Scooby Gang probably wouldn't have made it out of this one alive. The Creeper is a really neat creature, and yet another reason to never ever travel through backwoods America. Maniac Cop 2. When Tom Atkins can't save the day, it's time to call in the slightly bigger guns, which in this case means Robert Davi. I'm about to say something without hyperbole. This is one of the best direct-to-video sequels I've ever seen. Yes, that's a frighteningly low bar, but still, Maniac Cop 2 is pretty nifty. Maniac Cop 3, Badge of Silence. Again, for a direct-to-video sequel, this ain't half bad. It's a step down from the first two. The killer is a full-on zombie now, and hoodoo is involved, but it's more Maniac Cop goodness if that's what you're looking for. And this is the first time I've ever seen an actual Alan Smithee credit. Pause, quick footnote here. What is Alan Smithee? What does that mean? For those who've never heard of this, Alan Smithee is an industry sort of in-joke, I guess we could call it. If somebody is working on a motion picture that they are not proud of, that they can tell right away is going to be a mess of hot, fiery dumpster garbage, they will remove their name from the credits and replace it with Alan Smithee, just as a way to show the world without saying it out loud, I don't want to have my name attached to this piece of trash. That's what Alan Smithee is. It's much rarer now than it used to be, but clearly the director of Maniac Cop 3 was feeling the Smithee. Anyways, unpause. Maximum Overdrive. Stephen King plus Big Rig Trucks plus the Green Goblin plus Lisa Simpson plus cocaine equals Maximum Overdrive. Do I even need to say more? Yeah, I think I do. I probably just raised several questions, but I'll leave it at that. Mississippi Burning. I think this film was based on a true story, which explains its highly anticlimactic ending. If you're not a fan of this particular flavor of 90s thriller cheese, you won't like this. But seeing racist Southern sheriffs get their comeuppance is always a treat. Monsters. Aside from some really cool world building and beautiful alien designs, Monsters left a lot to be desired. I don't mind that it's small and quiet. I actually respect it for that. I guess it just feels like Monsters ends the second it starts to get interesting. Nobody. A lighter and more easygoing answer to John Wick, Nobody is a joyride. It is currently the go-to place to see a bunch of Russian mobsters get the absolute shit kicked out of them. Bob Odenkirk is a boss. Paddington 2. This is as delightful as everyone says it is and an absolutely worthy successor to Paddington 1. Though I still prefer the first one, the magic and charm that is this small Peruvian bear with a British accent is absolutely undeniable. Prince of the City. This 2-hour, 47-minute long Sidney Lumet epic is a slow boil where people use words like prosecution and indictment a lot. But it's still a gritty, heartbreaking look at the broken justice system of New York circa 1981 that no fan of crime dramas can afford to pass up. Everybody in it is always eating sandwiches though, and now I want a sandwich. The Rental. It's become increasingly rare for a movie to have a strong third act, but what impresses me the most about The Rental is that it's riveting from minute 1 to closing credits. Even when it becomes a slasher film in the last 8 minutes, it never devolves into just a standard boring chase. You're always glued to the screen. Good stuff, Dave Franco. Scooby-Doo. This could have been really, really dumb. And it is, but by God is it ever funny. James Gunn knows how ridiculous this TV show was, and this script is both a mockery and a celebration of that. The Scooby-Doo movie made me laugh at a fart joke. At a fart joke, people. We've reached DEFCON 1. Scream Queen, a touching documentary on Mark Patton, star of A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, and what it was like being a gay actor in Hollywood in the 1980s. At times scary and at other times heartbreaking, Scream Queen is a slice of horror history that I don't think any fan can afford to miss. Silver Bullet. You know, after spending so much time with incredibly vague clown monsters who have the power to do almost anything and also absolutely nothing depending on the whims of the author, it's so nice and refreshing to see a Stephen King story that's just about a plain and simple werewolf. Silver Bullet is packed with cozy small-town charm, and I liked it a lot. Slumber Party Massacre 2. I wish my mind and body had been prepared for the utterly bonkers experience that is Slumber Party Massacre 2. I've never seen a slasher film where the slasher is so indefinable. He's not real until he is, but he's also magic, even though there was nothing supernatural in the first movie, and his drill is attached to a giant red guitar, which he also uses to sing rockabilly music. I saw this almost 2 months ago, and I still wake up every morning baffled by it. Summer of Sam. Spike Lee's up-close and sometimes too personal look at some everyday New York citizens living under the shadow of the worst serial killer in their city's history, and what that kind of paranoia does to them. Expect the usual dizzying highs, laughable lows, and creamy middles as you would with any of Lee's work. Teacher's Pet. Sparks fly when Clark Gable pretends to be a night school student so he can sexually harass Doris Day because I guess he thinks she has swell gams or something. Doris's character really shines, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a good time. Romantic comedies have come a long way, but for 1958, you could sure do worse. Westworld. The first half of this classic sci-fi was full of fascinating promise. The second half was a slow, plodding chase that was nowhere near as interesting. Kind of like being in a relationship with me, only with more cowboy hats. White Palace. This erotic Spader-Sarandon romance is at its best when it closely examines the differences, both in class and personality, of its two leads, and how desperation and insecurity are two of the most overlooked qualities of any love story. And Spader makes 31. There we go. We did it. That's the end of this quarter's review marathon. This was a cool little batch of films, and honestly, I was trying to figure out which one of them I liked the best, and I really don't know. There's usually there's a clear favorite, but this time around, there wasn't, and I'm really curious to get to the bottom of why that might be. But in the meantime, we have another 3 months ahead of us and another batch of stuff that I've never seen before to get through. And I hope you guys are all trying this at home too, because it's a really fun way to A, experiment with art you've never tried before, and B, expand your horizons beyond what you usually watch. So that's been this review marathon. I'll see you back here at the end of September or beginning of October for another one. But in the meantime, check out the rest of the stuff going on the channel. We've got Westworld reviews. We've got other crazy things. We've got our usual Thumb Together stuff. And over on the Rebel Scum Podcast Network, we are talking all kinds of a Star Wars and a Marvel. So look for us there. In the meantime, my friends, I bid you all a very humble adios.